Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time for Flight Attendant Lingo Part 2. I did Part 1 maybe like a month and a half ago, maybe even longer, I'm not sure. And it was not my intention to wait this long before doing another one, but I just got really behind on editing stuff and figured today would be a good day to just kind of reset and start over with videos, and why not do Part 2 for the start of all that. In our first video, we talked about red eyes, Odans, galley queen, being short called, and irregular operations. So if you just heard all those words and were like, what in the heck are you talking about? I'm going to try to post that video as like the watch next at the end of this one. Hopefully I can link it. If I can't figure it out, then I'll just put the link to that video either in the comments or the description of this video if you want to check it out. I'm not going to go through and explain all of this again, because for those of you guys who have watched me regularly, you know that I like to ramble, and I'm not trying to post a 20-minute video today of me just talking about random stuff. So yeah, I'll see if I can figure that out when I post this. So if you don't see it come up on the watch next, then just go look in the comments or the description, see if you can find it. Before we get started, my name is Hannah. I am a flight attendant for a major US airline. I've been flying for about 5 years, and my channel basically just takes you guys along my journey as a flight attendant. I show you guys my trips and just talk about random flight attendant things. So if you're interested, go check out the channel and see what you think. But let's get into it. I've got my handy dandy bowl with our list of words that most people probably would not know what we're talking about. Also, just wanted to add in that all of these things I'm talking about, different airlines might use different words for the same exact thing. So everything I'm talking about is just how my airline refers to stuff. So if you watch flight attendants that work for other airlines, then we may be talking about the same thing but using different words. And so just remember that this is how my airline refers to everything. But anyways, let's get into it. Okay. All right, so I've got line and reserve. I added these together because we have two types of schedules that we can get each month. So you can either be a line holder or you can either be on reserve. So line holder is what most people prefer, just because when you bid your schedule, you get your month and you already have what trips you're working on what days, so you can kind of plan a little bit better for your month. Reserve, you bid for your days off, and then the rest of the days you're just on call, so you don't really know what you're going to be doing those days when you're on call. You could be sitting at home, like for example today I'm on call because I'm on reserve this month and they haven't called me yet, so I'm just sitting at home waiting to be called if I do get called today. But yeah, so when you're on reserve, you have your days that you're on call, and they can either assign you a trip, they can put you on call and you just kind of hang out at your house and wait to get called. They can put you on standby. I'm not going to get super into that because that is one of our words that I might describe later. What else can they do? But basically you get, when you're on reserve, you get 12 days off a month. And so typically on lines you get a few more days off, at least in my experience. I am getting more days off because I'm not a super high time flyer. But your legalities are a little bit different on reserve than a line. Like you have more leniency, I would say, on a line as far as it comes to like rest and what you can pick up and what you can drop and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, most people will bid for a line just because it's nice to know your schedule ahead of time. And then it's easier to like move stuff around and get days off that you didn't originally get. You can kind of drop and trade stuff. So I think, is that everything? Oh, the other thing about reserve is, so your line month, whatever schedule they give you, those are the hours that you're going to get for that month. So if they assign you like 80 hours worth of flying, then you'll get paid 80 hours worth of flying if that's like what you end up doing. You can, if you drop in trade, then it just, whatever hours you work is the hours that you get paid for. Whereas on reserve, you're gonna get paid 75 hours worth of flying, whether you fly that or not. So like this month, for example, I've only flown 31 hours so far. So if that's all that I fly for this month, I'll still get paid for 75, even though I only worked 31. So I think that covers the basics. But so like if you ever hear me just say like I'm on reserve next month, or you know, I have a line, I got my line for next month, that's what I'm talking about. So line means you got your schedule, you know where you're going, you know how many trips you're working. Reserve is just basically like I'm on call, I have no idea what I'm about to do this month. So hopefully I explained everything. I'm sure there's a lot more about reserve and lines that I could get into, but it would just get really complicated and confusing, so I'm not gonna do that to you guys. If you have any extra questions, put them in the comments below, of course, and I will answer them. But yeah, let's move on to another. Okay, this is a good one. So I just labeled it as like a trip layout. If you guys have watched my channel, you know that usually at the beginning of the video I'll say like, I'm going on a 3-day trip, it's a 3-2-1, and I just give you like random numbers. So that is me just telling you guys what the trip layout is. So every number represents how many legs we are working for that day, or for like each day of the trip. So if I said I'm working a 3-day, it's a 3-2-1, that means day 1 is 3 legs, day 2 is 2 legs, and day 3 is 1 leg. So a lot of flight attendants, if we're trying to get rid of trips or trade trips or drop trips or whatever, you'll probably hear us talking like, hey, I have a trip I'm trying to get rid of on this date. It's a 2-2-2, you know, and that's kind of like the selling point of like, oh, it's a 1-2-1 or a 1-1-1, you know. The less legs is kind of the incentive. I typically try to not work more than 2 legs a day if I can help it. A 3-2-1 is doable because it's only 1 leg on the last day. So, you know, you get your hard stuff done first. I have not worked, I should like knock on wood, but I have not worked like 4 legs in a long time, and we have a lot of trips in Charlotte that are like 3-4-3s, and can't be doing that. That's too much for me. So yeah, if you ever hear me in my videos say I'm doing this day trip and then I give you numbers, that's just me explaining how many legs are each day. So yeah, that's the trip layout. And because I have had people ask like, are you explaining what plane you're working on? And if I ever talk about what plane we're on, I usually work on the 321s out of Charlotte. So I will say like, we're on the Airbus 321, or I'll just say we're on the 321, and I won't like break up I would never refer to the Airbus as a 321. Hopefully I didn't just confuse you guys saying all those numbers that I just said. But the only other plane that I typically work on is a 737, and I don't think there's any airline that makes flight attendants work 7 legs in a day. I would hope not. But yeah, let's move on. Okay, non-revving. A non-rev, it stands for non-revenue, and that is how we fly basically on our personal travel. If we want to use our benefits, we are listed as a non-rev standby passenger. So I used to, if you've been watching my channel since I was based in Philly, you know that I used to commute to and from Philly, and obviously had to do that by plane. I was not driving 11 hours to and from work every time I had a trip in Philly. So I would have to list on, I'm not paying, you know, I wasn't gonna pay 7-8 times a month to go fly back and forth to Philly, because like I was a new hire, I was broke, could not afford to do that, probably still could not afford to do that. So a lot of flight attendants will use their benefits when they do personal travel. So yeah, anytime we're traveling on our own time, we will list as a non-revenue standby passenger, and that just means that if there are any seats available, they give them to us, but if not, we're just gonna be kind of bumping from the next flight until eventually we can get put on. The nice thing about us is if it's one of our planes, we can sit on an extra jump seat. So most of the time, even if the flight is full, we can get on because there's usually a jump seat for us. But yeah, that's non-revving. The nice thing about being a non-rev is they'll give you the best seat available. So I went to Australia earlier this year and was listed as a non-rev and ended up getting first class to Australia, which was super nice because I cannot sleep on planes. And so that was a game changer because that's a 15-hour flight and I was able to sleep for like 8 hours of it. So we love that. But yeah, for me personally, when I non-rev, it's free for employees. Anywhere in the US is free. And then for international, you just pay the taxes in and out of the city. So like when I went to Australia, I think it was $20 to get there and then maybe like $50 coming back. So it really wasn't that bad at all. And for a first class seat, like you can't beat that. So the perks definitely outweigh the cons when it comes to being a flight attendant. So that is definitely one of the perks, is sometimes you get lucky with these premium seats on the crazy flights. But yes, is that everything about non-revs? Oh, there are different types of non-revs too. So like we're actual employees, and then employees like spouses, or we call them registered companions. So, you know, it can be a best friend, a spouse, like anybody, you get one of those. So those two are the highest priority non-revs that will list. And then after that, you have your parents, and I think like retired flight attendants and pilots. They're kind of the next thing. So you get two parent passes, and then if you're retired, I think you get one for you and like a spouse or whatever, I'm not sure. But anyway, so those would be kind of next below. And then you have you have your friends and extra family, I guess, passes. You get 16 of those a year, 16 like one-way passes. So they're like the bottom, basically. So I've used a handful of my friends and families, but it's really hard to get on, especially since flights are so full these days. Like usually yourself, your spouse, your parents can get on okay, but once you get into those like friends passes, especially in the summer or like any kind of busy holiday season, which, or you know, whatever, it's going to be hard to get on down there. But is that everything about non-rev? And then obviously the pricing changes for that. So like for your spouse, the pricing is going to be, it's called imputable taxes, I think is what it is, imputed taxes, something like that. So basically they fly, how it works is if your registered companion flies, they will put it on like my paycheck as me working that flight. And so they're paying the taxes that would get pulled out for if I work that flight. I don't know. Does that make sense? They're like putting the cost of the flight on my paycheck and then taxing it, and that's what they would pay. I don't know if I explained that right, but that's basically what it is. Your parents, domestically, I think it's usually around like $40 one way for them. And then like when my dad went to Switzerland with me last year, I think he ended up paying like $300 round trip, if I'm not mistaken. So they get a pretty decent discount also. And then the friends and family, I don't even know what their discount is. My brother used it and I don't remember. I think theirs is more like 70 or 80 for domestic. And then I don't even know for international because I've never had a friend use that, but I don't know if it's super great. I mean, it's still like a discount, but I just don't know how good of a discount it is. Okay, moving on. Oh, the jump seat. We were just kind of talking about this. So the jump seat is where flight attendants sit when they're working. So like when you're walking in the boarding door, there's usually like one or two little pull down seats. That's the jump seat. And that is where we sit. Every flight attendant has a designated jump seat that they're supposed to sit on based on what position they are working for that trip. And it's also, there's usually like one or two extra in the cockpit, and then there can be 1 to 3 extra on our narrow bodies, and then for our wide bodies, I'm not sure how many extra jump seats there are. But when we're non-rev traveling, if there are no seats available in the cabin and there's an extra jump seat, then we can take the extra jump seat in the cabin. Flight attendants cannot take pilot jump seats, and pilots cannot take flight attendant jump seats when they're non-rev traveling. So, but if you ever hear me saying like our flight was full, we had jump seaters and everything, that just means that like every single seat possible on the plane was taken. So yeah, that's what the jump seat is. All right, we'll do one more. Oh, this is a fun one. Slam clicker. There could probably be different terms for this, but basically what a slam clicker is when you go on a layover and if a flight attendant is like that person that just goes in the room and never comes out for the rest of the layover, we call them slam clickers. I don't really know like where that came from. I guess because they slam the door shut and just lock it. You hear the little click, you know? But yeah, it basically is just referring to someone who gets to the hotel and then just stays in their room for the whole time. I have slam clicked a handful of times. I'm not typically a slam clicker. Like if I have, and it's really not for like the short layovers because like nobody's doing anything on a 10-hour layover, but it's like if you have like a 16, 17, 18-hour layover, you know, plus I've had a 30-hour layover before where everyone on my crew except for me stayed in the hotel room all day. So that's kind of more of like what a slam clicker is someone who just like, even if they have a ton of time, they're not leaving the room. They're just going to be watching TV or, you know, doing whatever in their room. So there have been a few times when I was just exhausted and like needed to sleep and needed to just hang out in the room. So if you ever hear me say like, I'm just slam clicking today, like I have to do it. That's what I'm talking about. Like you're just locking yourself in the room and you're not coming out. But yeah, hopefully for this part 2 video, you guys learned some new flight attendant words. Hopefully I didn't confuse you guys too much because there were a few times when I was just like rambling and I was starting to confuse myself. So hopefully you guys were able to follow along for a decent part of that video. Before I end it though, a couple of you guys have been asking about if I'm going to be doing Vlogmas again this year. I probably will, but I'm going back and forth. I don't know if I'm going to do, so last year I did a Vlogmas every day leading up to Christmas. So it was 24 days and that was kind of a lot. So if I do it this year, I probably will just do 12 days, do like every other and not 24. I don't know, we go back and forth because I do have another one of those Escape the Advent calendars, and I have another Advent calendar where you get a little section of a puzzle every day. So I don't know, but I am kind of leaning more towards just doing 12, and then I was thinking I could just talk about just different like flight attendant things for each of the 12 videos. So let me know what you guys think about that because December is right around the corner. So yeah, let me know what you guys are interested in. But yeah, as always, any questions, comments, whatever, if I really seriously confused you and you need some clarifying, just put it down in the comments below. I typically respond to comments on a video within the first like 2 or 3 days of posting. So if you see this in a couple days and you have questions, put them. I try to get back to everyone in the comments if I can. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving that is coming up in these next couple days, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.